Hello. I wanted to mention that October 13th, coming up this Thursday, 12 o'clock noon Chicago time, our Zoom meeting. So go to tarotmaps.com, and in there go to Virtual Tarot in the menu, and you'll click right onto a page to just click right into the Zoom meeting. And it's just sitting around talking about cards. But what I really wanted to go into about today was the card spreads and something about them, and talking about creative thinking techniques, and talk about a person in particular and some of his work. Michael Michalko was his name, and he created, he did 3 books: Cracking Creativity, Thinker Toys, which is probably his most famous book, and his last book, Creative Thinkering. And I might have mentioned these in the past about him, and he endorsed my first book, Genius of the Tarot. He's a creative consultant, a leading authority in creative thinking, and I spoke with him. He just recently passed away, June, I think, and so he had a website, but it's not up there anymore. I can't find it. But there's a lot of material on him on the internet. There's different talks he had and stuff like this you can find. And I'm going to put a link to one of those up at the bottom of the screen here about him. But what was interesting with him, and I wanted to mention, he actually signed Creative Thinkering for me. And he wrote in here, "To Vincent, the artist is not a special person. Each person is a special kind of artist. Best, Michael Michalko," right there. Well, that was nice. But we spoke on the phone. And I did email him and talk to him about my book, and about how I'm saying that I see the tarot as a creative thinking technique, and explaining why that's why I say it works now. And I thought that this was pretty big as far as tarot cards go. And he understood. He right away. He said, "Yeah, I see what you're saying." So we decided we're going to talk on the phone. So we set that up, and we had a good conversation on the phone. And the first thing I said to him, I said, "So you get it, right? You get what I'm saying?" He says, "Absolutely." He says, "I see what you're saying here." He says, "As a matter of fact, I'll send you a copy of my book. This book came out in 2011. My book came out in 2012. Genius of the Tarot was my first book." He says, "I'll send you a copy of this because," he says, "I'm just releasing it now." And he says, "I actually use a tarot card in here." And he does. In this book, he uses the Death card as an example of how creative thinking works. He uses tarot cards. And he goes into a lot about conceptual blending here. And he's an easy read. He also made the Think Pack, which is a deck of cards. And it uses a technique called Scamper by him. And Scamper is like a 7-card spread. And I actually took Scamper and used it in Radical Tarot as a card spread, mapping the question. Scamper, creative thinking technique. And those 7 positions make up the word scamper. S is substitute. What could be substitute that will put things in our favor? C, scamper, what can be combined to help this be successful? A, what can be adapted to this idea? What can be adapted to this idea for an answer? M, how can this be modified in some way or magnified? P, can this idea be put to another use, something better? E, what can be eliminated to help this issue work? And P, or R, things that can be rearranged to fit better, or reversed. What can be rearranged or reversed here to make things work better? And those spell the word scamper. So anyway, if you, I've been talking about how creative thinking and tarot readings are exactly the same thing, and that's why a tarot reading is effective. But if you read his work, I think it really hits home because, like I said, he's got a deck of cards, which is a random stimulus placed into Scamper or some other card spread, and called the Think Pack. And I would say all his books are really good. There's a lot of illustrations in there, and there's a lot of neat stuff in there to look at, to test your own mind. But his last book here is a small book, smallest one he has, 200-page book, and Creative Thinkering. He talks a lot about conceptual blending in there. And if you read his work, you'll see that how a card reading is identical to what is being done with this type of application of thinking. Now, his clients would be major Fortune 500 companies. He did work for the CIA, for major Fortune 500 companies, branches of the government. I say the CIA because the talk that I'm going to link here, the woman mentions that, so I guess you can say that. I've had somebody knocking on my door later. Boris and Natasha. Anyway, a card spread is basically aspects of your question, like Scamper would be. And with a card spread, I use a cross all the time. It's a 1 through 10. Those are positions, those are aspects of the question. And then random tarot cards are placed into those aspects to help you spark ideas for answers. And a deck of tarot cards is a perfect tool for that, which is why we find answers with those cards that we didn't see before. And this is why it works. And now understanding why it works really helps us get a grasp on what we're doing. Well, before we had no grasp. Before we couldn't explain. Nobody could explain why it works. So my work is the first of its kind on that. And it was nice to talk to somebody like him who saw right away. See, yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I use a tarot card in creative thinking. In that particular instance, it was somebody wanted to get published, and the editor of this publishing house declined him, and then he left, and another editor came in, head editor, chief editor, and so this author came back and reapplied, saying that the first editor was somebody he talked to before, and he got that idea because of the death card. He says, okay, well, this person's gone now, but in the death card, maybe that's an issue now that I can work with. And so he talks about how the tarot card was interpreted for an answer. And it's basically the same thing a tarot reader could say if they were doing a reading. So really, he did a reading with one card and didn't even know that that's what the same thing we're doing. But I also wanted to mention about tarot, the card spreads. We like the cross or any other spread. They're numbered. Those positions are numbered. So you have when you go to read those positions, you start out with reading position 1 in that card, and then you go to 2, and so on down the road. And that order is how a reading is done. And I do my these quick readings I do. I just did one called Fluent Reading. that's a good way to start. But I do feel that after that start, and that's reading it in order. But after that, it's good to go and look at those cards in more depth. And when you do that, you can crisscross different positions and how they work with each other. And I like to keep in what, why, how, and when as far as really what I'm looking into. And but not in that order. What, why, how, and when. Maybe sometimes we look at how will help explain why, or something like that. When could help explain what we're really looking into. So these cards will help you when they're laid in positions to see, well, this is connecting with this pretty nice. How does this help with this or that? And so intermixing these meanings of these positions with each other help spark ideas too. And that's how I think it's really a good way to look at going deeper into the reading. So, you're not on a tightrope with a card spread. You could start out by going through the meanings of the cards and the positions in order. But afterwards, you could start crisscrossing them. And come up with ideas you didn't have before. So Michael Michalko, he passed away, it looks like it was June 2020, so just recently. There's a lot of information about him out there, a leading authority on this subject. And if you look into it, if you're into the tarot cards, I would say look into his work, because you'll be able to connect the dots with things, and you'll see how they're very similar in what we're doing and what someone like him was doing. The only difference is you and I are reading people on a more personal approach to something, where he was looking at things that were huge projects. And that's the difference. But either way, you're making a prediction. You're saying, I say, if we do this, this ought to work. And then we go ahead and see if it does. So, random cards, think pack, can help with a tarot reading. Combining the two might be a good idea. His books are good. Michael Michalko, and but the order you read those cards in is not really, doesn't have to be that way. You can read them a lot of different ways. Same reading, same cards. And that helps spark ideas too. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And like I said, he was nice enough to endorse my book, Genius of the Tarot. I want to see what he said there. And he did endorse, this is a beat up copy, but he did endorse Genius of the Tarot on the back. I haven't. And here he says, Michael Michalko, okay, author of Cracking Creativity. He says, a brilliant book about the genius of the tarot and how you can use the tarot to discover your hidden thoughts and images. Think of the tarot as the candle and Vincent's book as the match that lights the candle that illuminates these thoughts. Very nice words. So anyway, I never met him, but it was nice to talk with him, and I think you'll like his work too. If you like tarot cards, I think you'll be very interested in his stuff. So Michael Michalko. Creative thinking techniques, you might be able to tie it in better than I'm doing with my books. I'm hoping I'm doing a good job with them, but he might even make more sense of it for you than I'm doing. And that's that, and we'll talk soon. Maybe I'll see you on the 13th.